Day 1. I was hungover yet again. Today was a C day, and I wasn't scheduled into the theatre until a set-up of the afternoon, so I decided to stay in bed. Nothing better than shaking off a hangover watching the window channel on the TV, casually drinking a beer to rehydrate the hangover away. It wasn't too early for a beer, it was nearly noon. There was a knock on my door. Who the fuck could this be, I thought. I decided to stay quiet and pretend I wasn't there. It would be easier that way. The door knocked again and I put my beer down and lifted the duvet over my head. Let's pretend I'm dead. A knock on the door isn't important enough to get me out of bed. If it was that important, I would have received a page. I just wanted to lay here and chillax. My phone began to ring. I went over to the phone and looked at the caller ID 0601. That was the phone in the stairwell on this deck. I ignored the phone yet again, but if it was important, I would get a page. But as I was out of bed, I decided to jump in the shower and take my time getting ready. I've had it with having quick showers over the last few days. I felt that I needed a relaxing long shower, and then I get my arse up to the crew bar to get a cold one, then move up to the crew deck and sun it up next to the crew pool. I was just about to jump in the shower and my page went off. Motherfucker, I shouted to myself. Went back to the cabin and picked up my pager, and yes, it was the new boss. What a cunt. I dialed up the phone. "You paged," I said. I paused to let Chris to say what you're saying. "I'm about to jump in the shower. Come around in 15 minutes. I slammed the phone down, then jumped into the shower. The 15 minutes just flew by. As I was getting dressed, my door was getting knocked on again. "I'm just getting dressed," I shouted through the door. "This guy's taking liberties," I thought to myself as I put my black polo shirt on. I picked up a cigarette and lit it and opened up the door without an invite. Chris walked into my cabin and sat on my chair. His uniform was crumpled and unironed. I think it could have been yesterday's uniform, as it had a musk about it. "What can I do for you, Chris?" I said, as smoke belched out from my chops. "I'm a bit bored. Do you mind if I tag around with you for a bit?" he said. I looked at my clock. The buffet was about to open for early lunch, and I was a bit peckish. "Once I finish my fag, I suppose we can go and get some grub," I said. As I was putting my shoes on, I noticed out of the corner of my eye the scabby bastard was raiding my ashtray of its dog ends. I wasn't talking about one or two. He was picking up every single one out and putting them into his pocket. I went over to my drawer, pulled out 2 unopened packets of smokes and tossed Chris a packet. Then the other one went into my pocket. "Here, have that, mate," I said. "We can pick you up a packet from the crew bar on the way up to the buffet." "Yeah, sure," he said, quite feebly. He then noticed half a bottle of vodka on my top shelf. He stood up, picked it up, and slammed it down on my desk with an almighty thud. He spied my clean glass and went to pour himself a drink. I walked over and politely removed the bottle from his grip before he had a chance to pour from it. "Sorry, boss," I said. "It's a bit early for that particular bottle. We call this stuff the P45 juice. Come on, let's get something to eat." I replaced the bottle on the shelf and ushered him out of my cabin. Then we went up to the buffet. The rest of the day went uneventful. The early show went well, and so did the late show. The strike and the build went well. I didn't even see Chris in the crew bar that night. Day 2. We were anchored in Qatar. It was a tender pot, and none of the crew were getting off the ship. I scheduled the stage crew to assist me and the automation engineer in the theatre for some well-needed maintenance. My lighting bars were all up to date, so I gave the stage team a hand doing a general tidy-up. As I was sweeping some dusty shit into a dustpan, I got a tap on the shoulder from Nabel, the automation engineer. "You alright there, dude?" I said. "Has anyone had an accident in the last day or so?" said Nabil. "No. Why, I said. "The eyewash station has had half its stock removed," said Nabel. "What? And nothing's written in the logbook?" I said. "No, nothing," said Nabel. "Leave it with me. I'll get to the bottom of this and get more ordered from the stores," I said as I left the stage and went to the office. No one from the production team was in the office, and then I spied the entertainment manager sat at his side of the room. I went towards him, shutting the partition door behind me, and sat down. "Has anyone reported an accident to you?" I said. "What kind of accident?" said the entertainment manager. "I don't know, but the eyewash station has half its stock missing." Without asking me, the entertainment manager picked up his phone and he dialed the medical centre. The question was asked, but no one had an eye-related injury. This was puzzling. If no one had an accident and used it, then someone's nicked it, and for what reason? "Can you order me 3 more bottles from the ship's stores, please, so I can replenish the stock?" I said. The entertainment manager nodded his head, and he began to hammer away on his keyboard. "Are there cameras in the theatre?" said the entertainment manager. "Yeah," I said. "There are lots, but they're all independent from the ship's CCTV for copyright and privacy reasons. I mean, it would be bad if videos of the dancers getting naked in a quick change were to get leaked on the internet." "That's a good point," said the entertainment manager. "Is there any way of recording the camera feeds from now on when the theatre's empty?" "I can make it happen, but I'd need a large hard drive to be plugged into the HDD unit," I said. The entertainment manager reached into his drawer. "Take this," he said, and handed me a terabyte hard drive. "Cool," I said. "I'll get the cameras to scan through on Sentry mode, and I'll blank it during the late night show, ready for the next 24 hours. As soon as rehearsals begin, make sure you give me the hard drive to look through. I'll give it back to you at the start of the second show. I've got a feeling that we might get something at night," said the entertainment manager. As I went to leave the office, the entertainment manager grabbed my arm. "Don't tell anyone about this. It's just you and me," he said. I nodded and I left. Day 3. The day was going well. I managed to have some time to myself during the day. I went ashore as soon as we were docked and cleared. I just wanted to be alone in Corfu. I wanted to bask in the glorious sunshine in my usual table at the Hustlers Cafe. I was joined later by the pianist, and even later on I was joined by some of the showcast. The day was going exceptionally well. I had an awesome lunch with a lot of local beer. I even managed to get some Wi-Fi time and spoke to my brother and my niece. I checked the time and shut down my laptop. It was time to head back to the ship and set up ready for rehearsals. I made my way back to the shuttle bus pickup point and waited patiently for the bus to come along. The bus came, and 10 minutes later I was back in port. It was time to go shopping for supplies in the duty-free, so I made my way through the terminal security and walked up to the duty-free shop. At this point I always bought what I needed and a third extra, ready to take home at the end of the contract, as well as stashing some supplies for when I returned after my 2 months of leave. I bought 600 cigarettes. They were a local brand called Leader. They were as strong as Marlboro Lights and just as mellow in flavour. They only cost me €8 for 200, so it was a really good bargain. I also picked up 4 litres of vodka. I normally got through all 4 litres before we returned. It was okay stuff, but nothing really to stockpile for, though this vodka was the stuff we dubbed the P45 juice. This stuff got many people fired, as it usually turned the timid ones into lecherous animals. It also made the shy ones turn aggressive and violent. Not I, though, as I was always pissed off about something and everyone always expected an outburst of some kind from me. I paid for the supplies and I walked back to the ship. As I made my way up the gangway, you could hear the clattering of bottles. I never said anything. I just put the bags through the scanner and walked through the metal detector arch as per normal. There were always the odd look from passengers in the queue when they noticed the amount of duty-free I had in my possession, but it was rare that the reptiles would make a comment. They would usually wait till I was out of earshot before bitching about my shopping. I walked through the corridor on deck 4 and made my way through the wall of cabins till I reached the forward stairwell. I pushed the button for the lift. When it arrived, it was full, so I made my way up the stairs to deck 6. I left the stairwell and walked along to my cabin. I opened the door and went inside. My pager was going crazy. It wouldn't stop making alerts. I pressed the main button, which would silence it. The display showed 30 messages. I scrolled through. "Holy fuck," left my lips. Without getting changed, I left my cabin and ran towards the entertainment office. As I passed the backstage area of the theatre, I kicked off my flip-flops, then picked them up and continued to leg it towards the entertainment office. I jumped down the stairs from backstage to the auditorium and darted out of the theatre and onto the corridor where the office was based. I flung the door open, and to my surprise, the entertainment manager was there, along with the hotel manager and deputy captain. Slightly out of breath, I forced out of my burning lungs, "Just come back from the shore side," and saw my pager. "What's going on?" "Catch," said the entertainment manager, as he threw me the pager. "You're now the production manager." "You're fucking kidding me," I said. What the shitting hell's happened?" The deputy captain turned towards me. "We are currently not at liberty to tell you at the moment, but you will be informed in due course," he said. The entertainment manager said, "Go back to your cabin, get changed, and come back with the special instructions you were given. Meet back in, say, half an hour." I nodded and made a swift exit. I darted back to my cabin and got showered and changed, then dug out the envelope from my stash and returned it to the theatre. It was nearly rehearsal time, so I ran up to the power room and switched on the lighting rig. I ran up to the control room, powered up the lighting desk, and loaded the show. Fortunately, tonight's act was a comedian, so it was quite literally a tab warmer state, then the main state, then the bows. I set up the one-man operation so the sound engineer could press the spacebar on the computer keyboard that was at his sound desk. Each press would jump the lighting desk to the next cue, then return to the beginning state, which would also bring up the house lights. The noise boy had to press the spacebar one more time. I returned to the entertainment office. It was empty. I went over to the production manager's desk and opened up my envelope. The first page had the login credentials for the computer. I logged in and it worked. The train wreck of a short-lived boss of mine didn't have the gumption to change the password. I picked up the phone and paged both the noise boy and the TSM. Both of them arrived within 5 minutes. "Okay guys," I said, "Chris has been relieved of his duties and until further notice I've been made production manager. Tonight, due to the fallout, I'm unable to do the show. So I have set up the lighting desk for a one-man operation." The noise boy cut in. "I don't know what I'm doing," he said. "Don't worry, do the sound check, then page me, then when you're finished, I'll show you. Nabel, I won't be available for the build tonight, so don't worry about my bits on the stage. I'll do that first thing in the morning before I turn up to the office," I said. They both agreed and went to the rehearsals. I loaded up the production manager's email and saw a massive backlog of unread emails. They went back right to the start of Chris's first morning of being in the boss. I started going through them and responded to the urgent ones, and then followed up the non-urgent ones with a standard email reading: "Due to unforeseeable circumstances, we lost our production manager, and I'll get back as soon as I'm up to date with your situation and request." I signed the email Paul Collis, acting production manager. The entertainment manager walked in roughly half an hour later and came up to my desk. "Okay, Paul," he said, "I need you to keep the department ticking over till we work out what's happening. Chris is up in front of the captain at 8 a.m. and he's going to be fired by 9 a.m. At 10 a.m. I'll be allowed to tell you the details, but for now just keep things going for me." He paused. "Do whatever you need to make my entertainment program work, but keep me in the loop of all your decisions with a BCC on any emails." I nodded and continued with my new job of clearing the backlog of emails. Day 4. Due to the unforeseeable incident from the previous day, I found myself not hungover for the first time in many contracts. I didn't visit the crew bar the previous night. It was 6 a.m. 6 a.m. My body hasn't even known that time existed. I struggled to get out of bed, but it had to be done. I just had far too much to do. I got dressed and then went up to the buffet for early breakfast. Once breakfast was out of the way, I found myself in the theatre and plugging up the lights ready for the evening show. The stage boys were good to me. They positioned the floor units where they needed to be. All I needed to do was power up the lighting rig, then address the units. I checked the time. It was now 7:30. I opened up the curtain and dropped down the downstage screen ready for the church service. It was a Sunday sea day, and out of tradition, the captain gives a half-hour service. The boys had already set up the piano and the church lectern. The captain's C Bible was set onto a side table, and the captain's handheld microphone was set onto a microphone stand. I went up to the rack room and powered on the rig. You could hear all the moving lights shudder to life and run their calibration sequences. I left the rack room and made my way to the control room. I switched on the lighting desk and loaded the day program. This program had a cue stack for the church service and another cue stack for the Port Talk presentation. I would need to come back later on to switch the cue stacks over, as I scheduled other people to cover the church service and Port Talks. I went over to the AMX panel and lowered the side screens and powered the side projectors. The main computer was patched to the screens. I then typed the hymn numbers on the PowerPoint and clicked slideshow buttons. This then sent the hymns to the screens. After church, I would repatch the screens and main screen to the vision mixer ready for the Port Talk presentations. In between the two presentations, the noise boy would resize and patch the main screen ready for the afternoon movie. I left my workstation and moved down to the sound perch. I powered up the sound desk and loaded the day settings. Whilst the sound desk was loading, I grabbed a sheet of paper and wrote a note saying, "Just switch the microphones on and bring them live on the desk." I also drew a picture of me shooting myself in the head with blood and brains hitting a wall. I checked the time. It was nearly 8 o'clock, so I returned to my cabin and had a cigarette before I was expected in the office to continue my new duties. In the space of 5 minutes, I chain smoked 2 cigarettes. I really didn't want to be the boss. I was only here on the ship to do my job and have as much fun as possible. This current situation I was in simply wasn't fun. I knew I wasn't getting paid for doing both jobs. I'd only get in the pay of the production manager, even though I had a huge workload. I still had to do my maintenance as well as the shows, as well as now the PM responsibilities and duties, until the situation was sorted by the company, sending me a new production manager, or heaven forbid, a new lighting engineer, so I'd have to remain the boss. This would be the worst case scenario. I didn't want to be the boss, not that I couldn't do it, but because I can. I was still sick of being the boss from my soul-destroying and highly stressful previous job. I lit one more cigarette and caned it down. This smoke would last just a minute or so. I stubbed it out and walked to the entertainment office. Once there, I walked through all the entertainment team as they were divvying up the daily jobs. Every cunt there looked at me as though I shouldn't be there. I just put myself in my new chair and my new workstation, kicked off my shoes and put my feet up on the desk as I logged into the computer. Time seemed to fly as I was conducting the production manager duties of reading the daily emails as well as paging various team members to action the tasks that were required. I got a bullshit page from some twat from reception saying that the music in the atrium was too loud, and when I got there to check the volume it was quiet. The music was just in the background. I went back to the entertainment office and fired off an email back to the reception to say that I'd adjusted the volume and it was now quieter. In the technical side of the entertainment industry, when we have a special button or fader on our sound desks called the DFA, which stands for does fuck all. As soon as you touch this, people actually think you've made an adjustment, even though you have done nothing. About an hour later, I returned back to my desk. The entertainment manager walked in and summoned me to his half of the office. I walked over and closed our partition door. The conclusion. Chris, the production manager, went down in company history as 4-Day Chris. As of day 4, the captain officially fired him. 4-Day Chris was landed on the next day as soon as we docked and sent home. It turns out that the mystery of the missing eyewash solution was down to 4-Day Chris nicking it and taking it to his cabin, where he drank it thinking that he could get trash from it, which he didn't. The bottles were found in his cabin by his cabin steward, who promptly reported the bottles to the crew housekeeper manager, who in turn reported it to the medical centre to see if there was an accident. The medical centre then informed the entertainment manager of the find, and the dots were connected. But that wasn't what got 4-Day Chris fired. On the second evening of 4-Day Chris's short stint of being the boss, a passenger made a complaint of a crew member walking along the smoking area of Deck 15, raiding ashtrays of dog ends and drinking the dregs of drinks. He was quite literally walking along, grabbing abandoned glasses and necking them. Chris wasn't even fired for that. He was fired for after another incident. After I left the crew bar the second night of 4-Day Chris's reign, he turned up to the crew bar and did the same thing with drinking the dregs of abandoned drinks and raiding the dog ends from the ashtrays in the smoking room. When he was en route to his cabin, he noticed a cabin party from the spa corridor which joined onto his corridor. He gatecrashed their party and drank as much booze as he could get his hands on. This party went on and on and on, and the spa girls could take no more of his freeloading, so they kicked him out. 4-Day Chris didn't get fired for this. It was about 7 a.m. and 4-Day Chris went up to get something to eat in the buffet. He was observed on the ship's CCTV that he staggered up and down the decks, walking into doors and bulkheads. When he finally made it to the buffet, he didn't observe the rules using the tongs. He just picked up food with his dirty cigarette-ashed hands from where he was recycling cigarette dog ends into his new cigarettes. 4-Day Chris was picking up handfuls of scrambled eggs, bacon, baked beans with his hands and shoveling it into his mouth, not even putting the food onto a plate. The buffet staff started to give 4-Day Chris a telling off. Well, they would grasp on the best behaved of crew members for even the most minor infringements. 4-Day Chris just picked up more food and then began to throw it at the buffet staff and guests. He then proclaimed that I start work in 20 minutes and I'm having my breakfast, before he ran out of the buffet and down towards the entertainment office. Waiting for 4-Day Chris in the office was the entertainment manager, the hotel manager and the head of security. The office door was closed, and all of a sudden 4-Day Chris fell through the door and staggered towards his desk. He then tripped up and fell through the desk, sending the computer, stationery and paperwork flying everywhere. He then began to throw up and tried calling everyone in the office cunts or something close to it, as they found it difficult to make out what he was saying in between lashings of vomit, and 4-Day Chris was rolling around in it. 4-Day Chris was then carried down to the medical centre, where they restrained him until he calmed down. The rest of Day 3, Chris was confined to his cabin and had a member of security in there with him to make sure he didn't leave or even harm himself. As for me, I remained doing both the production manager job as well as doing my job for the best part of 6 weeks. 6 long weeks of only getting one wage for doing 2 jobs. On the upside though, I had 2 cabins, my main one on deck 6 and my production manager's cabin on deck 7. This cabin was a room with a view. I had a giant window which I would sit naked on the giant windowsill while smoking. I did this because A, no one could see me doing this, and B, because I could. The cabin also had a king-size bed. The production manager's cabin became my personal fuck pad, and I enjoyed every moment of it.